Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of the syndicated talk show, People of Distinction. The talk that gives you an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, alcoleenterprises.com for more info. Email me through benji@alcoleenterprises.com if you'd like to get involved with what we have going. And as always, please continue to like and follow our broadcasts. People of Distinction is internationally syndicated solely due to the love and support that you all continue to give. We're available across all major distributors, and as long as you keep following, we're going to continue to put out the content. Now sit back and strap in, because on the line with us today, we have the impressive Jacqueline Brux. Now we're going to be discussing her incredible book, Project 2026, a mandate for leadership on the progressive promise. It's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble, studioofbooks.org, man, it's a lot of other places. Type it into a search bar, sit back and be greeted with them all. And while you're at it, listen, Project 2026, man, that's the anchor for the discussion here today. But you're also going to want to check out, Jacqueline has a blog that she has put together, and it's on Substack. It's entitled Progressive Now. And you're going to want to take a look at that, man. Again, whether you're on the right or the left, you're in the middle, doesn't matter. This is not a politics thing. This is a human rights thing. You're going to want to get involved, get yourself educated, head on over there, purchase the book, and participate in the blog as well. And before I go any further, I want to quickly point out the fact that she was brought to us by Studio of Books. So for writers out there listening in who have gone through their process and now you need assistance moving the book you just developed, well, head on over to studioofbooks.org and gather all the ways that their fantastic team is more than equipped to help you do just that. And listen, people, it is an absolute pleasure to have Jacqueline here on the line. You see the title? Okay. Yeah, man, we're going there today. And now, People of Distinction, we are not a political podcast, but we don't shy away from political topics. And that's what we're discussing today. I mentioned a moment ago, this is not a right or a left thing. Now, you can believe what you want. You can follow who you want. But the discussion we're having today, man, this is about a human rights thing, okay? This is about making sure that we are all cared for properly and not just the select few. Right? You know where I'm going with that, because we are living through a moment of profound disagreement, right? Yet beneath all of the noise, most of us want the same things, man. We want a fair shot, we want a safe home, and we want a future that's worth inheriting. Now, the question isn't whether we want a good life, but whether the rules of the game are rigged to uplift everyone or merely a fortunate few. Okay, that's the premise for the discussion, but I promise you it's nuanced, it is layered, and it couldn't possibly happen in a short discussion, which is why by the time we've concluded, you got to go pick up your copies, man. You got to start the conversations for yourself. You got to start to change things one person at a time. I'm looking forward to this one, man. Let's get the conversation started. Jacqueline, first and foremost, welcome to the network, and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. Thank you, Benji, for your lovely introduction. I'm very happy to be here.
Likewise. Listen, we're looking forward to the discussion, Jacqueline. I think, first and foremost, just by labeling your book that title, it's going to turn some heads, right? It's going to get some people very happy. It might get some people very upset. So I think you must have known that, of course, going into it. And then the information found within is really where it all lies. So before we dive into the book, Jacqueline, tell us more about yourself and your background.
Let me tell you about myself, because I think it's, when we do have these difficult conversations from right wing to left wing, it's helpful to know the person who's talking, sort of knowing their background, where they come from, and what's motivating them. And while my book is very progressive politics, economics book, I prefer to see it as a cry for social justice. And that has sort of been my vocation all of my life. I consider myself to be a wise elder woman. And I say this because as an elder woman, I've lived through a lot. I have children, I have grandchildren, I've known all their friends, I've loved all of them, all different types of diversity. I have 2 black and 2 white grandchildren, so I've always worked hard for civil rights, voting rights, Black Lives Matter. I live in the Twin Cities metropolitan area. I'm in western Wisconsin, which is part of the Twin Cities metro. So over the course of 2025, we've had a lot of, bombshells dropped on us.
Yeah.
We had the 5th anniversary of George Floyd's death. We had the Minnesota House Speaker, Melissa Hortman, was assassinated. 2 children were killed in a church school. We've had the death of Renee Good and Alex Preddy. We've had a mayor who said, "Get the F out of my city." And I'm about to say, "Get the F out of the White House," because I feel that the Trump White House has been totally destructive of the U.S. population as well as the global population. And I am a development economist, so I've worked and I've traveled all around the world. I've spent a lot of time in Africa, in Asia, in Latin America, Canada, Europe. My heart is mostly in Africa, and as well as Gaza. I am also a political economist, so I'm focused on socioeconomic issues. I've spent a lot of time in Norway. I know their economic social safety net. I know that ours doesn't come anywhere near and is being frayed, and killed as we speak. I've written so many books, so many textbooks, so many blogs, editorials, columns, and so on. I've experienced all the loss and grief and mental breakdowns and physical illnesses and spiritual crises that all of us have experienced. And that's where I have come to my viewpoints. And I try to put them in the book. And the book is titled Project 2026. It is a mandate for leadership on the progressive promise. And I know probably only a few of you have read Project 2025 from straight to end, because I only know about 3 people who have actually done that. But if you have read it, or if you are familiar with Project 2026, you will realize that I am rephrasing the dialogue. This is Project 2026. It's a mandate for leadership on not the conservative promise, but the progressive promise. And in addition, the title says it's a collection of 52 weeks of blogs that I wrote from Donald Trump's 2025 presidency to assist those in search of progressive change. So I'd be happy to talk about the issues. I'd be happy to talk about my policy proposals. I've tried to explain the economics, because I am an economist, that underlie many of the progressive proposals and the conservative proposals that people really don't understand. I've been a professor of economics all my life. So if there's one thing I know, it's how to break down economic concepts to the recipient's level of understanding. So, I'd be happy to discuss any of these things.
Well, Jacqueline, thank you very much for that background. Jacqueline, I want to, before we go into your policies, because I'm very interested in hearing what you are proposing, I do think it's important to just start off at this foundation. You've written a number of books, but this book, Project 2026, is brand new. I mean, people, this is brand spanking new, just came out, okay? So first and foremost, tell us a little bit more about the book, and we'll go into specific policies in a moment, but tell us more about your book.
The book is actually my life as I lived it under the Trump administration in 2025. It helped me get through 2025, which I wasn't sure I was going to be able to do. And now I'm realizing we have to get through 2026 as well.
It's only been 52
so what
weeks.
It is,
oh,
it's
my
a
goodness.
It was a weekly blog about what was happening at the moment during the first year of the second term of Trump's presidency. So I do, like I said before, my heart is in the developing world. My heart is in Africa, Asia, Latin America. There is another book some of you may have heard of. It's titled One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This by Omar Al-Akkad, and it's about Gaza. And I don't know how closely people follow Gaza, what's happening there.
Yeah.
But this is just a really good example of where the Republicans have said, okay, Israel, here's our bombs, here's our money, do whatever you want to do. So there has been a genocide in Gaza. There's a ceasefire right now, but the genocide is ongoing. Hundreds of people, children, are killed on a daily basis. There is the world's largest humanitarian crisis, but the UN also refers to it as the least known crisis. And that crisis is in the country of Sudan in Africa, where, again, it's a genocide. It's a genocide of war, and it's a genocide of starvation. The U.S. has pulled out our food aid. The U.S. is letting hundreds of thousands of people die constantly. Another example is Lebanon. Israel is now killing thousands of people in Lebanon today as we speak. I live in the Twin Cities metropolitan area, as I said, and we have a large Somali community. Trump has come here and called my friends garbage. He comes here and Somali people stand there and they say, I didn't know they hated us this much. I love the Somali population. They've taken care of me when I've been hospitalized. They've taken care of me at the airport when they transport me around because I couldn't walk from illness. The people, Donald Trump's war on Iran, okay, he says, I don't really care. I don't really care what happens. It really doesn't make one bit of difference to me. But during this war on Iran, we are all experiencing higher food prices and higher gasoline prices, of course, but
right.
that's affecting some of us, some of the poorest among us, enormously, and they don't see that. But what's more severe is something that nobody sees. And the UN has predicted that up to 45 million people will starve across Africa and Asia because of the war in Iran, which closed the Strait of Hormuz and prevents oil from getting through. Poor consumers and poor farmers in Africa and Asia cannot afford the energy and the fertilizer to produce food, and the prices of food are skyrocketing and consumers can't afford to buy it. I'm talking about 45 million people starving. This is more than the Holocaust. It's more than Gaza. And I go back to Omar al-Akkad's words, one day everyone will have always been against this. No, I'm sorry. Nobody even knows about it. And it's important to me that people know about it so they know that the depths of cruelty of our presidential administration goes beyond the poor of the United States. It goes beyond immigrants in the United States, but it's spread throughout the poor world, where the United States, we're facing an Ebola crisis in Africa right now. I don't even know how many people know that. In the past, the U.S. would have been there. Would have been setting up, creating contact tracing, isolating people, testing people. We would have been there. Instead, I predict this will be the greatest Ebola outbreak ever because the United States has dropped the ball and is not doing anything. I speak from my passion, but it's a passion because I care about people in this country and around the world.
Jacqueline, I love what you're saying, and your passion is enticing. And I know my listening audience, they're listening to you talk and they're like, preach. Why? It's like, oh my God, it feels so good to hear a coherent sentence once again and things that actually make sense, right? Well, I want to ask because, listen, I want to talk. You brought up Gaza, you brought up Lebanon, and of course Africa, and we see that there is a lot happening. But let's focus just here for a second. And this might tie into one of your policies in the book, and if it does, it's a great segue. But we see the U.S. and let's just be fair, and I'm going to point it out. Like, this is not solely happening under the Trump administration. When we're talking about money that has gotten sent to Israel, it's not just Donald Trump that has done that. It's the latest example of it, and I would probably argue that he's done it more severely, but just to play it fair, he is not the only president that did that. Okay, so we got that established. So we see that the U.S. sends billions for unconditional military aid to Israel. It's almost a slap in the face. We see it happening while Americans at home are debating cutting school lunch programs, and veterans their health care is being cut due to budget imbalances, right? Well, from a macroeconomic perspective and a public investment standpoint, again, this is where maybe your policy comes in. How do you explain to a working class family in, let's say, Ohio, that there's infinite money for bunker busters abroad, but there's never enough for affordable childcare here in the United States? How do we advocate that? How do we make that make sense to Americans?
So those are awesome questions, Benji, and I agree totally with you, with everything you've said. I would say to the working class people, I've got your back. I am rooting for you. I am working for you. And that's what I want our candidates for election in the midterms and in the next general election. I want people to advocate for the truly needy, the truly working people of our country. We are the richest country on earth, which is why we have the greatest responsibility. The Trump administration, I'm sorry, but we all know this, is the most blatantly corrupt that we've ever seen. That man has taken more money than every president combined.
Absolutely.
But aside from the corruption, there's the ballroom. There are the arches. Is the blue reflecting room. There are his cryptocurrencies and his head on everything. And that's where he is spending our money. He is not spending our money on the American people or on the people of the world. And all of those depend on us. As far as Democrat versus Republican, you're absolutely right, Benji. The war on Gaza practically killed me under Biden, because Joe Biden, I expected better.
Yeah.
And I expected more from Kamala Harris. And Democrats to this day are wringing their hands going over, oh my gosh, should we maybe tweak the policy a little bit this way, or should we tweak it a little bit that way? Nobody was listening to those of us who do not believe in genocide, who do not believe in our country supporting genocide. We know who to vote for. We know that we will vote for someone who does not take AIPAC money. AIPAC is the American Israel Political Action Committee. Half of the Democrats take that money.
Yeah.
Half of the Democrats will vote for Israel to do and get away with all the war crimes that it wants, will veto everything at the United Nations that attempts to reduce the genocide in Gaza, the bombing of Lebanon, and the apartheid conditions in the West Bank. There was an editorial in the New York Times a few days ago by Senator Chris Van Hollen. He wrote, "It's time to stop. It's time to stop wringing our hands like, oh, gee, what should we do? We'll lose this voter or we'll gain that voter. It's time to stop wringing our hands, and it's time to vote for what we believe in." And I will not vote for anybody who advocates for genocide.
Right.
And I will not vote for anybody who takes AIPAC money. And I am not anti-Semitic. I know and love people of every possible religion on earth. Some of them are my best friends. But we can't support war crimes and genocide. And I do believe in a strong safety net. As I said, I'm using Norway as an example, but Minnesota is another example. People have paid maternity leave for over a year. Paid paternity leave is required so that the father can bond with the child as well. Free childcare, free barnehage in Norway, which is it's sort of like kindergarten. We need free childcare. We need free preschool for children. We need single-payer, universal, comprehensive health care for everybody. Everyone is wringing their hands over, gee, should we add a work requirement to food stamps, the SNAP program? And that's going to happen after the midterms. Well, I'm sorry. The bureaucracy is going to cost billions. The low-income people who are struggling and relying on food stamps are not going to be able to comply with the bureaucracy. They will lose their food.
Yeah.
Okay? Why are we wringing our hands over, should we do this with Medicaid? Should we do this with SNAP? How can we save the most money? Blah, blah, blah. Let's just have a system where everybody has health care, everybody has enough food, everybody has education, everybody has housing. Look at Zoran Mamdani in New York City. Okay? That's what he's doing. That's what Minnesota has done. That's what the United States needs to do.
I love that. That's what they're doing. What you need to do is you need to head on over to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, studioofbooks.org, pick up Project 2026, a mandate for leadership on the progressive promise. People, I'm telling you, there's a lot happening here. Check out the blog to stay involved for the day-to-day things, but also look at Project 2026, get it on your shelf, get educated, start having conversations with those around you. And, I'm listening to you talk, Jacqueline, and this is the part that I find to be the most infuriating for me when I look at our current political climate. And this is why I started by saying, I've always grown up left-leaning, right? And that, of course, unapologetically so, but I am also not naive to believe that they are always doing things in the fashion that they're supposed to. And that is what drives me absolutely bananas when you look at the political climate, because it is almost looking as it's just a game to keep people divided. And politicians on the left may be a little bit more progressive and a little bit more open, but then you look at some of the policies or lack thereof, and we're like, what is happening right now? How is it that things have changed so drastically? And you said it, 52 weeks. People, listen, I know you're listening in right now. You're like, Benji, stop playing with me, man. It's been at least 3 years. What you talking about? We've been dealing with this for at least 3 years with Trump. No, people, I'm sorry to break it to you. The nightmare continues. It's only been 52 weeks. We have a long time left. But you see how much has transpired in just 52 weeks. And then we see how painstakingly slow any type of progressive movements work. And it just is infuriating. So I want to now push it to this next. Jacqueline, you have policies in your book. What are some of the policies that you are proposing, and how can we change this?
Thank you. Well, as I mentioned, I am advocating for single-payer universal health care. We spend more per person on health care in the United States than any other country, way, way, way more. And that's because so much of it goes to the insurance companies and to the pharmaceutical companies and to the bureaucracy. Single payer means the government pays for it. You take a little card, it's got your medical history, it's got your allergies, it's got your medications on it. It's also your credit card. You hand it to your doctor or the office when you get there. You're covered. The bill is sent to the government. They've got to. That's what we need. It would save trillions of dollars. I've done the math. I've read the reports. It would save trillions of dollars. I advocate for a strong social safety net with extended paid family leave, sick leave, childcare, preschool, housing. I advocate for affirmative action and DEI. Our economy is based on systemic racism and contempt for the poor. And when you look at the Supreme Court ruling that gutted the voting rights 3 weeks ago, it's totally changed my mind. My head is still so messed up by how this has changed the trajectory for voting rights for low-income people and for Black people. Tax reform, we have so much money that we've just given away to billionaires. Yeah. The billionaires in the Trump administration, the trillionaires advising the Trump administration, and those billions and trillions of dollars, just the tiniest fraction of that, could feed our people and could house our people and could provide health care to our people and could take care of the world in the way we used to do. Instead, now we are demolishing the world. I would reform our foreign assistance programs. I would say free Palestine, no super PAC funding, not just AIPAC, no super PAC funding. That is not a democracy. They have gerrymandered our states, so there's no democracy. They are paying the bribes they need to take to vote in the people who will support the corporations and our country with corporate exploitation of developing country people, with our push for climate change through advancing coal and oil. We, through our bombs, through our guns, we're complaining about the gang violence in Latin America. We are shipping all the guns to those people so they can have gang wars, so we can call them on it, and then export people, send them to deadly prisons in El Salvador and Eswatini and Equatorial Guinea and every hellhole in the world. We're doing all this stuff backwards. We're causing the problems. We're refusing to fix it. We are making it worse.
It's almost gotten to the point where to find reliable news, you kind of have to go out of the country. You got to get news sources from Europe or from other countries because everything seems to be some type of propaganda machine now, right? And depending on where you're getting your news, it's going to be skewed through some particular lens. And that's not to say that other countries have it all figured out, because of course they don't, right? So people understand, man, this conversation, oh my goodness, it's massive. But it's a conversation that needs to be had. I started off the interview by talking about how we're no longer conversing. And, listen, it's clear to see that Jacqueline and I have very similar views and perspectives on a lot of these things. Many of you listening in right now, I know my audience, many of you listening in right now have very similar perspectives as we do as well. But I know that that's not the entirety. I know that there are others out there that lean on the opposite side of the political spectrum. And I implore every single person, I implore every single one of you, please contact. I'd love to have you on. You can sit down here and we will talk to you about it, because to me, it seems, it seems very obvious, but clearly it's not. And rather than laugh it off or call someone or insult someone's intelligence, I'd really love to get down to the specifics and see where people are coming from and why certain people believe certain things or follow certain things, right? Because to me, it seems like it's such an obvious conclusion. And, you brought up something a little while ago, Jacqueline, and you're talking about the just astronomical price of healthcare in this country. A number of other things, of course, but healthcare being one of them. And it's interesting because we pay more per person for healthcare than any other country on earth. Yet our life expectancy is, of course, it's declining, right? And that can be due to a number of reasons. We work too much.
When you look at the statistics, and compare the United States with the European countries and even some of the less developed countries, our life expectancy, we rank more like around number 15, not number 1, right. Something like 15. Our infant mortality rates, our maternal mortality rates, all of our rates are like at the bottom of the Western industrialized world. And like I say, and like you've just said, we spend more per person than any other country. And that's because, I'm sorry, there are some things that government, that single payer can do so much better than, look at all of our Medicaid programs and Medicare and the ACA and the various insurance companies and the work-based insurance and veterans health care and blah, 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 blah. And all of that overlapping bureaucracy, not to mention the profits that go to the industry. Sure. That just goes away when you just have the government saying, yep, we're covering it. We've got you covered. We're doing vaccines. We're doing preventative care, the things that people don't get when they don't have health insurance. And those save money. Yeah.
It's like that old adage, right? There's no money in the cure. There's money in the treatment. And that is, again, it's an infuriating thing. Okay. So Jacqueline, I want to...
And there's money in the prevention as well. And every time I go to a healthcare provider, I say, by the way, I'm really working hard for single payer. And they all cheer for me. Every physician, every medical person knows that single payer is what we have to do. Mm-hmm. It's not communism. I'm sorry. They use communism, Marxism. They use these words as let's call you some names and see if it sticks.
Right. And the unfortunate side of this, Jacqueline, is for so many people that has worked. For so many people, rather than going and picking up a dictionary and looking at the specific definition and then putting it across to see, does this line up properly with what they're saying, or just doing research for what people are saying, they will just allow based upon what they're hearing. And because it's something that they're following, they will believe it fresh out of the horse's mouth. People, again, this is a layered conversation, man. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. It starts with reading this book, but I promise you it doesn't end there. because you need to make sure that you are educating yourself properly. And because listen, man, I'll watch Fox News, I'll watch CNN, I watch them all because I want to see what they're saying. And then I want to be able to make a decision as to who I'm going to follow after that, right? And you gotta be able to take it all in, because I promise you, if you're only leaning on one side, you're only getting half the story. And chances are, even that one side you're leaning on, remember, it's propaganda. You might not be getting all of it anyway.
Go to the people who know the facts, have the information. Do not use government websites. The facts are not accurate.
Yeah.
I know. I'm an economist. I write textbooks. I utilize facts. I do not go to government sites anymore. My doctor told me, oh my gosh, don't go to government healthcare sites. Okay, because they're not telling us the truth. Go to legitimate sites. The information is out there. People are uninformed.
Yeah.
They don't know what's going on in their own place. They don't know what's going on in the world. You have to inform yourself.
Jacqueline, I could sit here. Clearly, we could talk for hours. Okay, there is so much information
I could talk
here,
for hours.
right? I wanna, as we close out of here, and you've already started to touch up on it, but let's put a nice little bow on it here. What is your specific goal for the midterm elections and beyond? Like, what do you want your book to help with readers that pick it up? Where do you envision this going?
I want people to vote their conscience, not to vote their strategies. I want people to vote for things they believe in. If they care about people in this country and in the rest of the world, I want them to educate themselves, learn about what's going on, and then vote their conscience. If you care about people, vote for people. Don't discuss strategies. Don't tweak this and that. You know, going back to the 2024 elections, the Democrats really messed up. They did not take a stand on Gaza. They would not take input from all the uncommitted voters who said, I'm holding off until you tell us we're not going to support genocide in Gaza. You know, Kamala Harris, she had one policy that was not geared to higher income people, and that was no tax on tips. No tax on tips doesn't help anybody who is poor, because the very poorest don't pay taxes, so they don't get a deduction. And what they did was mangled up the tax on tips so that instead it counts as bonuses for upper level executives.
Yeah.
Not helping low income people unless it's a refundable tax credit. The politicians don't know that. I know that. I explain that in the book. I explain that in my blogs. If you want to help people, I can tell you how to do it. And I can tell you that the ways that are proposed are not the ways to help people. So, as I said before, I don't really speak as a leftist or a socialist or a Democrat. I speak out of social justice.
Yeah.
I speak about caring for people.
You know, all right, people, I'm going to plug it once again. I know you're already heading on over there, man, because you hear the passion in her voice, and you are already on that page, man. You're already on that path. But I'm going to say it for you again, just for the people in the back that aren't quite listening close enough. You got to head on over to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, studioofbooks.org. Pick up your copy of Project 2026, A Mandate for Leadership on the Progressive Promise. While you're at it, she mentioned her blog before, but don't pass that up. Check out Substack. Her blog is entitled Progressive Now. This is something you want to get involved with. This is a book you want to add to your shelf. And, you know, listen, we've dissected the fine print, and the conclusion is stark. I don't see how you can possibly come up with anything else. A policy that benefits only a select group inevitably creates a cost that the rest of us are forced to pay, whether in polluted rivers, diluted education, or through mountains of medical debt. The Progressive Promise insists that we stop balancing the federal budget on the backs of the sick and the working poor. Okay, there is work that we need to do. I'm an optimist, so I believe we can get there. But my goodness, have we been bombarded these past 50? I'm going to keep coming back to it, man. 52 weeks, that's all it's been. I feel like I've gotten so many gray hairs in the past year. I'm like, where the hell did this all come? I got 2 children, and they don't even stress me out as much. It's like, oh my God. People, you know where to go, man. Head on over there, purchase your copies. And I really do mean it. Like, conversations need to start. We've started ours. It's up to you guys now to continue it. Let's get working, man. Let's get it going. Jacqueline, this has been an absolutely wonderful conversation. You are a breath of fresh air, a wealth of knowledge. Keep up the fantastic work. And once again, thank you for being a guest on People of Distinction.